Hello everyone. Today we will study the lesson The Lost Child. Introduction to the lesson. The Lost Child is a story of a small child who gets lost in a fair. The child is very happy and excited and wants everything from the fair. He wants sweets and toys displayed in the shops, but his parents don't buy them for him. Soon the child gets lost and separated from his parents while looking and enjoying the colorful fair. This causes panic in his mind. Once he loses them, he is picked up by a stranger. The stranger tries to quieten the child by offering him all the things that he had demanded from his parents, but the child does not want them anymore. He wants his parents first. Then the child realizes that his parents meant a lot to him and all the luxuries in the world were meaningless to him without his parents. This story highlights the bond of love and affection that the child shares with his parents.
It was the festival of spring. From the wintry shades of narrow lanes and alleys emerged a gaily clad humanity. Some walked, some rode on horses, others sat, being carried in bamboo and bullock carts. One little boy ran between his father's legs, brimming over with life and laughter. The story is set in the spring season. The winters had recently ended. People were gladsome, playing, and enjoying the beauty of spring season. People used different modes such as bullock carts, foot, horses, and bamboo carts to go from one place to another. A little child went to a fair with his parents. The fair was set up in his village. He ran with excitement in the fair. He was full of happiness and cheerfulness. "Come, child, come," called his parents as he lagged behind, fascinated by the toys in the shops that lined the way. The child was fascinated by the toys which he could see at different stalls. His parents called him to come with them as they were scared of leaving him behind. He hurried towards his parents, his feet obedient to their call, his eyes still lingering on the receding toys. As he came to where they had stopped to wait for him, he could not suppress the desire of his heart, even though he well knew the old cold stare of refusal in their eyes. The child was obedient. He followed his parents' instructions and walked towards them. But his eyes kept on looking at the toys that he was seeing in the fair. As he saw them, he badly wanted to buy them. He already knew about the reaction of his parents. He knew that they would stare at him and would not buy him any of the toys. The child knew the emotionless way in which they would stare at him.
"I want that toy," he pleaded. His father looked at him red-eyed in his familiar tyrant's way. His mother, melted by the free spirit of the day, was tender and giving him her finger to hold, said, "Look, child, what is before you?" The child was unable to control his desire any longer. He told his parents that he wanted to buy the toy. The father's eyes grew red with anger. He looked at the child angrily. The mother became emotional due to the cheerful mood of her child. Lovingly, she asked her child to hold her finger. She asked him to see what was in front of him. It was a flowering mustard field, pale like melting gold, as it swept across miles and miles of even land. A group of dragonflies were bustling about on their gaudy purple wings, intercepting the flight of a lone black bee or a butterfly in search of sweetness from the flowers. The child followed them in the air with his gaze, till one of them would still its wings and rest, and he would try to catch it. But it would go fluttering, flapping up into the air when he had almost caught it in his hands. Then his mother gave a cautionary call. "Come, child, come, come onto the footpath." There was a vast field full of bright yellow-colored mustard flowers. They seemed like melting gold, which were widespread. A group of dragonflies, black bees, and butterflies buzzed around, sucking the nectar from the flowers. The child looked at them as they flew around. When they sat somewhere, he tried to catch them, but the tiny creatures would fly away the very next second. The mother called him as he started walking down the footpath. He ran towards his parents' galley and walked abreast of them for a while, being, however, soon left behind, attracted by the little insects and worms along the footpath that were teeming out from their hiding places to enjoy the sunshine. The child ran towards his parents. He walked next to them, but after a few steps he stopped to see the insects who were coming out of the soil. Once again the child was left behind. "Come, child, come," his parents called from the shade of a grove where they had seated themselves on the edge of a well. He ran towards them. A shower of young flowers fell upon the child as he entered the grove, and, forgetting his parents, he began to gather the raining petals in his hands. But lo! He heard the cooing of doves and ran towards his parents, shouting, "The dove! The dove!" The raining petals dropped from his forgotten hands. The parents called him. They sat near a well under the trees. The child once again ran and came back to his parents. As the child entered the shaded forested area, he was welcomed by a shower of flowers. He forgot his parents and started collecting the petals that had fallen. Just then he heard the cooing of doves. He felt excited to see them. He started following the birds, and then the petals fell from his hand. This shows that as the child got attracted towards the next thing, he forgot what he had been doing earlier. "Come, child, come," they called to the child, who had now gone running in the wild capers round the banyan tree, and gathering him up, they took the narrow winding footpath which led to the fair through the mustard fields. As they neared the village, the child could see many other footpaths full of throngs converging to the whirlpool of the fair, and felt at once repelled and fascinated by the confusion of the world he was entering. The parents called the child, who was running and playing around a banyan tree. They lifted him and crossed the mustard fields and reached the fair. As they were about to reach the fair, the child saw many people walking from all directions towards the fair. The crowd of people scared him and he stepped back for a while, but the next moment he got tempted to the confusing crowd of people. A sweetmeat seller hawked gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi, jalebi at the corner of the entrance, and a crowd pressed round his counter at the foot of an architecture of many colored sweets decorated with leaves of silver and gold. The child stared open-eyed and his mouth watered for the barfi that was his favorite sweet. "I want that barfi," he slowly murmured, but he half knew as he begged that his plea would not be heeded because his parents would say he was greedy. So, without waiting for an answer, he moved on. At the entrance of the fair, to one corner, a sweetmeat seller was selling various sweets like gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi, and jalebi. The sweets were covered with foils of gold and silver. The boy's mouth watered when he saw barfi. He spoke in a low voice and requested his parents to buy him one barfi. His voice was low as he knew that his request would not be accepted by his parents. As he knew that his demand wouldn't be fulfilled, he walked further without waiting for an answer. A flower seller hawked, "A garland of gulmohar, a garland of gulmohar." The child seemed irresistibly drawn. He went towards the basket where the flowers lay heaped and half murmured, "I want that garland." But he well knew his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers because they would say that they were cheap. So, without waiting for an answer, he moved on. Next was a stall of a flower seller. He was selling garlands of gulmohar flowers. The child wanted one of those garlands. He walked towards the basket of flowers and again murmured that he wanted to have one garland. He spoke in a very low voice as he knew that his demand would not be fulfilled. His parents would refuse to buy him the flowers as they would say that they were cheap. Again, the boy moved forward without expecting a reply from his parents. A man stood holding a pole with yellow, red, green, and purple balloons flying from it. The child was simply carried away by the rainbow glory of their silken colors, and he was filled with an overwhelming desire to possess them all. But he well knew that his parents would never buy him the balloons because they would say he was too old to play with such toys. So he walked on further. The next thing that the child saw was a balloon seller who was selling rainbow colored balloons. The boy was tempted to the bright colors of the balloons. He wanted to have all of them. He knew that his parents would not make him buy the balloons. They would say that he was too old to play with them. So the child walked further and didn't ask his parents to buy him those balloons. A snake charmer stood playing a flute to a snake which coiled itself into a basket. Its head raised in a graceful bend like the neck of a swan, while the music stole into its invisible ears like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. The child went towards the snake charmer, but knowing his parents had forbidden him to hear such coarse music as the snake charmer played, he proceeded farther. The boy then stopped at a snake charmer who was playing a flute, and the snake was moving its neck as the music was being played. The snake was inside a basket with its head out. He had coiled itself inside the basket. It bent and moved its neck beautifully just like a swan. It seemed that the music of the flute was heard by the snake's invisible ears and created the effect of a waterfall on it because it moved its neck in a similar way. The boy walked towards the snake charmer, but as his parents had warned him to remain away from the unpleasant music played by such men, he didn't say anything and went ahead. There was a roundabout in full swing. Men, women, and children, carried away in a whirling motion, shrieked and cried with dizzy laughter. The child watched them intently and then he made a bold request. "I want to go on the roundabout. Please, mother, father." There was no reply. He turned to look at his parents. They were not there, ahead of him. He turned to look on either side. They were not there. He looked behind. There was no sign of them. After that, he saw the roundabout swing. The swing was full of men, women, and children who were enjoying the ride. The boy watched the people on the roundabout. Then he gathered a lot of courage to express his desire to go on the roundabout. But he couldn't get any reply from his parents. He turned towards them. He couldn't see them anywhere around. A full, deep cry rose within his dry throat, and with a sudden jerk of his body, he ran from where he stood, crying in real fear, "Mother, father!" Tears rolled down from his eyes, hot and fierce. His flushed face was convulsed with fear. Panic-stricken, he ran to one side first, then to the other, hither and thither, in all directions, knowing not where to go. "Mother, father!" he wailed. His yellow turban came untied and his clothes became muddy. The boy cried loudly. He started running here and there to call out for his parents. He was full of fear. Tears were rolling down from his eyes. As he cried and ran around, his turban opened. His clothes had become dirty. He ran quickly again, this time to a shrine to which people seemed to be crowding. Every little inch of space here was congested with men, but he ran through people's legs, his little sob lingering. "Mother, father!" Near the entrance to the temple, however, the crowd became very thick. Men jostled each other, heavy men with flashing, murderous eyes and hefty shoulders. The poor child struggled to thrust a way between their feet, but knocked to and fro by the brutal movements, he might have been trampled underfoot, had he not shrieked at the highest pitch of his voice, "Father, mother!" A man in the surging crowd heard his cry and, stooping with great difficulty, lifted him up in his arms. The boy ran towards a temple where there was a huge crowd of people. He ran through the legs of men, calling out for his parents. People were pushing one another. The boy got scared of the crowd as he was being pushed by strong men with their strong and big shoulders. The boy's cries were heard by a man in the crowd. He lifted the child. "How did you get here, child? Whose baby are you?" the man asked as he steered clear of the mass. The child wept more bitterly than ever now and only cried, "I want my mother. I want my father." The man tried to soothe him by taking him to the roundabout. "Will you have a ride on the horse?" he gently asked as he approached the rink. The child's throat tore into 1,000 shrill sobs and he only shouted, "I want my mother. I want my father." As the man got the child out of the crowd, he asked him how he had reached there and what were his parents' names. The boy cried even more and repeated that he wanted to go to his parents. The man tried to relax the child by taking him to the roundabout swing. He offered him a ride, but the child screamed and wept loudly that he wanted his parents. The man headed towards the place where the snake charmer still played on the flute to the swaying cobra. "Listen to that nice music, child," he pleaded. But the child shut his ears with his fingers and shouted his double-pitched strain, "I want my mother. I want my father." The man took him near the balloons, thinking the bright colors of the balloons would distract the child's attention and quieten him. "Would you like a rainbow-colored balloon?" he persuasively asked. The child turned his eyes from the flying balloons and just sobbed, "I want my mother. I want my father." The man started walking back on the same route which the child had taken. So he took the child to the snake charmer. He asked him to listen to the nice music being played by the snake charmer. The child shut his ears with his fingers and screamed loudly that he wanted his parents. The man took the child to the bright-colored balloons, hoping that he might get cheered by seeing them. He offered a balloon to the child, but he turned away and cried for father. The man, still trying to make the child happy, bore him to the gate where the flower seller sat. "Look, can you smell those nice flowers, child? Would you like a garland to put round your neck?" The child turned his nose away from the basket and reiterated his sob, "I want my mother. I want my father." The man tried to make the child happy and took him to the flower seller. He asked him to smell the fragrance of the flowers and offered him a garland. The child refused to smell the flowers that he wanted to buy earlier because now his priority was to get his parents. Thinking to humor his disconsolate charge by a gift of sweets, the man took him to the counter of the sweet shop. "What sweets would you like, child?" he asked. The child turned his face from the sweet shop and only sobbed, "I want my mother. I want my father." Finally, the man took him to the sweetmeat seller and offered to buy sweets for him. Still, the child did not want his favorite sweet, but wanted his parents.